reactionaries have got an incredibly thin tightrope to walk over the coming days and weeks when it comes to this topic, this discussion. They'll say that Doctor Who is a dead show, that nobody wants to go anywhere near it, that it's basically it's a dead series walking. However, when news like this comes into the forefront, it kind of shows that there is some very real interest in the show, and in particular, its immediate future when it comes to Russ T Davies taking back over again. We got this report from Bloomberg. This is a rumor here. So Disney in talks with BBC to stream Doctor Who series. Disney looking to bulk up on established entertainment. BBC would also air the program along with Disney Plus service. Walt Disney Co. is in discussions with the British Broadcasting Corporation about acquiring the streaming rights to a new Doctor Who series. The talks are in the early stages and there's no guarantee a deal will be reached, according to people with knowledge of the matter who asked not to be identified because the discussions are private. The show would potentially air globally on the Disney Plus streaming service. The BBC would also air the programme. Disney, like other media companies, is looking to bulk up on established entertainment properties as it builds its global streaming service. The series, which first appeared TV in 1963, follows the adventures of a time-travelling character known as the Doctor, etc., etc. The BBC announced in May that Ncuti Gatwa, Scottish actor born in Rwanda, will star in the next instalment, making him the first black person in the title role. He also appears in Netflix's Sex Education. So this story actually came almost at around the same time that Ryan Gosling, who co-stars with Ncuti Gatwa in the upcoming Barbie movie, says that Ncuti Gatwa's casting is the most exciting thing in TV. I'm here for it. And with stuff like this, it kind of shows that there is a real changing of the conversation, the topic when it comes to Doctor Who's public perception, and how that it kind of shifts when you have people actually sticking up for the media in question. Chris Chibnall and the BBC have been incredibly quiet when it comes to all of the abuse and the slander being thrown at people like Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker. I haven't forgotten all of those YouTube videos questioning whether or not Chris Chibnall is Jewish and that's why he was ruining Doctor Who, of course, or whether or not Jodie Whittaker is secretly a trans person who's wanting to SJW up a beloved children's show. All of those conversations seem to go completely unanswered or unspoken about in the community or by the higher up, which is very disappointing. But let's talk about this when it comes to Walt Disney wanting to use when it comes to Walt Disney potentially getting the streaming rights to what the quote is weird, a new Doctor Who series. I'm presuming that they just mean the upcoming era when it comes to Ncuti Gatwa, series 14 after the 60th anniversary. So let's break this story down a bit. When it comes to Disney potentially getting the streaming rights, this does not mean that Disney are going to acquire Doctor Who. This does not mean that they're going to buy the franchise like they did with the Muppets ages ago, like they did with Star Wars, with Lucasfilm and Marvel and Pixar, etc. This is not a company acquisition. This is basically a licensing agreement. This is like what Netflix, their main business model was when they first started, before they were making original shows. They would license out the streaming rights to all these TV shows. So this isn't Walt Disney buying Doctor Who. So let's nip that in the bud right now. I also know a lot of people say that if Disney did buy Doctor Who, there'd be no LGBTQ plus stuff, which the president has been there in the past, but with the recent, it was like their D23 Expo, and when the LGBT, Disney granddaughter, I can't remember off the top of my head, said that they were going to make sure that 50% of all characters in Disney properties are either from an ethnic minority or LGBTQ. I think since then, they've actually stood their ground on representation. Of course, that could change at any time, but I think that in and of itself is not really an issue moving forward. But let's focus on the matter at hand for Disney Plus acquiring the streaming rights. What I interpret for this article, the show would potentially air globally on the Disney Plus streaming service. Global in this context is mainly used as a stand-in term for outside of the domestic country. So what I think would happen if this was the case was that Series 14 would broadcast on BBC One on Saturday or Sunday night, whatever. And as soon as the episode's out, the rest of the world would get it on Disney Plus. That's my best guess as to how a deal like this would go forward. I don't think that the BBC would lose exclusivity to Doctor Who, especially the current broadcasting series, and give it to Disney Plus. I think that Disney would want to use Doctor Who as a way to get a family audience on board with the streaming service outside of the UK. Maybe Disney Plus are able to get it after it's been broadcast, but I don't think the BBC wants to lose that immediacy. Doctor Who, regardless of what contrarians say, is still one of the most viewed shows on the BBC and one of their best performing franchises. We talked about this on the last stream, that the BBC Worldwide, the brand, the corporate division, had a banner year last year, mainly due to shows like Doctor Who, to shows like Top Gear. Very profitable, very good year. And Doctor Who was one of the attributed versions for that, was one of the attributed reasons for that. So I think that what would happen is that it would show on the BBC, then Disney Plus would broadcast it outside of the UK. BBC America might, that might complicate things somewhat, but these talks are in early stages and there's no guarantee, as the article takes great pains to emphasize here. What Disney like to do as a media company is, if you can't beat them, buy them, because you'll see that they didn't have a really good run of animated films in the early to mid 2000s. Okay, we're buying Pixar. Oh, we're not able to make franchises for boys and young men. Oh, okay, we're going to buy Marvel. We're going to buy Star Wars and Lucasfilm. So, okay, we can't make them, we're going to buy them. So when it says in talks to get a new Doctor Who series, I think that this is the current series. Disney Plus probably won't be interested in making their own Doctor Who series. If they did, that would be really cool. Maybe you have Doctor Who on the BBC, but then again, if it's under the umbrella, I don't think the BBC would want to let go of that. If it was like, okay, Disney Plus can help chip in a couple of quid to make a spin-off series that they get global exclusive streaming rights for, now we're cooking with gas. But for the actual series proper, I don't think it's leaving the BBC anytime soon. It's going to be on the iPlayer, which is a big parcel, like part and parcel deal for airing on TV. One thing I also want to say is that when it comes to home media releases, in the UK at least, I don't think there's any cause for concern. Like I said, BBC Worldwide had a great year, and Doctor Who's one of the reasons for that. Home media releases are absolutely a big part of that. In the UK, I don't think you've got any worry about losing the DVDs, Blu-rays, Steelbooks, collector's editions, what have you. Internationally, if Disney Plus has the streaming rights, that's an entirely different story, however, because the Disney Plus shows that are made for Disney Plus, the Marvel shows and everything else, as far as I'm aware, there hasn't been a single physical release of any of those, even shows that aren't big franchise ones, like Pam and Tommy, like Dopesick. I think that those are staying on the platform, and even Netflix, they'll do DVD and Blu-ray releases down the line for some of their biggest shows. So yeah, when it comes to the UK at least, I don't think there's going to be any change. This deal, from what I can tell, would predominantly affect other territories. And when talking about this, people on Twitter at least were saying that in Brazil, we haven't even got any Jodie Whittaker stories yet. We've just got, we're like halfway through Peter Capaldi. So I'm very sorry that you've been missing out on all of this Doctor Who stuff. That's an absolute shame. But yeah, so it would be interesting that if Disney were to pick up the back catalogue as well. And here's the added complication, because a discussion about Doctor Who can never be simple. The classic series is currently only available streaming on BritBox, which is co-owned by the BBC and ITV have the majority stake, as the BBC are predominantly pulled out. It's a whole thing. Speak to Adam Martin, he's the TV expert. But yeah, it would be really cool if Disney are able to actually put a whole section on their streaming platform. Because one thing I really like about Disney Plus, okay, hashtag not sponsored, is that you go on their account and there's the Disney box here. There's Pixar, there's Marvel, Star Wars, National Geographic, Star. They're actually able to really segment the different franchises. That's really cool, and to have that at the top of the page is really, really clever. But can you imagine if they get the streaming rights to Series 14, and they say, okay, so Ncuti Gatwa, the 14th Doctor, is going to face the censorites in one episode. And then, after the episode is broadcast, or you watch it on Disney Plus, you watch the episode, and then at the end, it takes you to Season 1, from 1964, the Censorites TV story. Watch that next. That would be really cool to have that sort of curated experience on a streaming service. And to, if you have a full back catalogue there, it'd be foolish to not actually make the most of it and utilise it. That would be great. Do we think that Disney if they were to have a deal like this for Doctor Who, we'd return to the days of this.
What is your name?
I'm the Doctor.
Who?
The Doctor.
Who?
The Doctor. I'm the Doctor.
Doctor Who.
Are we getting that? Probably not, but many people are very nostalgic for it. So yeah, it would be cool if internationally Disney Plus are able to compartmentalize the classic series, or at least the majority of the revival, into a really handy place. And this would be a big boon in terms of the BBC, the worldwide corporate division, to have that license out to Disney. Disney currently, at time of making this, have around 90 million global subscribers to Disney Plus. About 6 to 7 million of those are in the UK. Meaning that it would be adding a potential 80 to 85 million potential viewers on a streaming service to Doctor Who outside the UK, which those are really big numbers, of course. You know, nearly 100 million people, that's a big number, of course. But also, keep in mind, we've gone over the BARB viewing figures. Even Doctor Who, at its lowest viewing figures with like Legend of the Sea Devils, still outperforms Disney Plus shows to a substantial margin, like Obi-Wan, like WandaVision, like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like Dopesick, like Pam and Tommy. We've gone over the BARB viewing figures. Legend of the Sea Devils gets like 3.5 million viewers. Obi-Wan Series 1 gets like 2 to 2.5 million viewers. Doctor Who at its worst is still performing better than Disney Plus's best output. And of course, apples and oranges, TV service and streaming service, of course. You know, apples and oranges, of course. There's basically a big audience that can make the leap to Disney Plus that are a Doctor Who audience. And I think Disney Plus they want that uptick. They want that back catalogue. They want the family-friendly content. Although, if they did, I got a feeling we're not going to be seeing stories like The Talents of Wen-Chiang. Disney are a company that would rather completely edit or censor their difficult past. We do not have a Song of the South release. We see scenes from Dumbo removed. We have scenes from Lilo and Stitch, which are drastically edited for no discernible reason. So I've got a feeling if you get the classic series, you're not getting The Talents of Wen-Chiang. Massive loss for the community, I'm certain. So, yeah. Honestly, I don't have too much more to say. I don't have too much more to say about this story, other than, you know, it just shows that there is a big potential market for Doctor Who that Disney is able to bring to them, which is a net good for the program. I don't think that would fix the Wi-Fi Lilo and Stitch edited. Yeah, in the original version, Lilo hides from her sister in a washing machine, and in an edited version, she hides behind a pizza box because they didn't want kids going into washing machines. You know, I don't know if that was a massive endemic, but, you know. Steph22, I cancel my Disney Plus subscription soon because I didn't watch it. That's fine. I mainly watch it for Bob's Burgers. That's my comfort show. But yeah, so it kind of shows that in the wake of the changing of the guard and Russell T Davies, who, remember, he called out Loki for its tepid, allegedly tepid, because I've not seen the show yet, tepid bisexual representation. So, you know, maybe Disney are wanting to brush up their numbers on LGBT representation by having Russ T Davies there, Ncuti Gatwa and Yasmin Finney, because they're like, oh, we can't bother to make new characters, we'll just bring in some new ones through licensing agreements, which I respect the grift, I guess. Naturally, I have, of course, seen the conservative line of thinking that, the upcoming series of Doctor Who has a gay showrunner, there's a trans actor in it, and Disney are teaming up with them, they're going to try and groom the children. Of course, that is part of the conversation, depressingly, because conservatives refuse to change the fucking record. But while they are crying into their cornflakes, crying into the corn cob as they try to talk that they are not owned, Disney and Doctor Who could have a potentially fruitful partnership. I don't think this will affect the show at all. If there's something in the show that Disney wants to get rid of, they'll just cut it and they'll still put it on the service. They won't say we're not broadcasting this episode. I doubt it would be like that. On Her Talent Incorporated, yeah, the Loki thing is a kind of typical representation from Disney. A passing mention they can easily get out for the Chinese audience. Yeah. It's also with I think now with the whole Disney is a grooming service, allegations that the Republicans have been running with in America for the past year. I think Disney have kind of had a big wake-up moment where it's oh, there really is no negotiating with these people. So we're just kind of going to do whatever we want. And you know what? I respect it. Langley, to Disney's credit, they refuse to remove LGBT material for outside territories now. Doctor Strange 2, Lightyear, etc. Yeah, I think since that D23 Expo, or whatever, it might not have been D23, but when they made that announcement, to be fair, they've stuck to their guns for it. Via the Void, I don't want Disney anywhere near Doctor Who. Creatively, they won't. From this deal, as far as I can tell, they won't have any creative involvement in the show. If they were to, like, we get the stream rights to Doctor Who, you get to still air it on the BBC, but we also get a Sarah Jane style type spin-off series that is exclusive to the platform, we can talk about that conversation if that happens. But I think just acquiring the streaming rights, that's not creative involvement. The same thing would be like if Netflix was saying, Netflix wants exclusive streaming global rights to the next series of Doctor Who. Like, Disney is just a really big player in the game and very business minded. It kind of says more about Doctor Who than it does Disney at this stage. That the casting of Ncuti Gatwa, Rusty Davis coming back, and all the constant media hype generation and a really committed fan base as well worldwide. It just shows that there is a market that Disney, who are bloody business savvy, want to get in on, and I think that works. It works in Doctor Who's favour.
Later that same evening.
So during that chat, we got a really good question from Anti-Toast II, who asks, do you think if Disney Plus manages to be able to stream Classic Who, that will help fund more missing episode animations? Bless you. That's a really good question. I don't think that it will affect the animated recreations at all, unfortunately. I think that Disney is not as interested in media preservation as organizations like the BBC and the BFI are. Like I mentioned earlier, Disney are more like let's pretend that we didn't have those racist stereotypes. Let's pretend we didn't release that movie. That's definitely much more Disney's bag. Whereas the BBC kind of has more of an obligation to the public to try and preserve its history and everything. So I think that. So while it's a really interesting question, and I also think never say never, but if they were to make missing episode animations, it would only be if they have any interest in having the classic series on Disney Plus. If it's just the revival, no chance, no shot, no shout. But if they do have the classic series, I think it will also depend on, because the big part of those animated re-releases is to get them on those collection sets, is to get those home media releases with the steelbooks and everything. That's the big revenue stream when they get released. I'm assuming in the UK that would stay the same. But if it's just Disney Plus internationally, and if they've already got Doctor Who on there anyway, why do they need to also do the animated recreations? I think it's unlikely, but never say never with it. I mean, Disney, of course, have the infrastructure to do really high quality animated stories, and they would have the platform and the audience would be there for it. But I just don't think Disney would be that interested in it, to be honest. But can you imagine an animated recreation of the Massacre in an animation style similar to What If? Like a stylized 3D animation version, that it wouldn't be, strictly speaking, authentic to the classic series, but they would have the resources to do it.